Rejection is 90% of it for sure because, it's kind of like throwing darts at the wall until one of them hits the bullseye. You have to just keep trying and keep like embarrassing yourself in a sense behind the scenes. Flew out to Miami for the commercial and then did it in like, it was like a day or two, the shoot. And then that night I just like flew back to Connecticut and I arrived like early morning and I had like a test that morning. And so I was just like studying and doing my homework in the car and like on the plane.
Brianna D, welcome to the World XP podcast. How are you today?
I'm well, how are you?
Can't complain. It's another day. We're all alive doing big things. Why don't you do a quick intro for the people, kind of who you are and what you've been up to. And then, as we were just discussing, we'll do the question from the last guest. I always repeat this, even though the people that have been watching always know that this is how we start, but I feel the need to say it anyways, so everyone is on the same page. But anyways, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so my name is Brianna D. I am a singer, songwriter, and actress, originally from New Jersey. Um, I've been doing this since I was about 8 years old, just like auditioning, um, doing live performances, traveling to different places to perform. And writing my own songs in the studio just throughout like middle school, high school, college, um, undergrad and grad school. So I've been doing this for almost my whole life, and I just really love music. I love acting as well. I'm an actress. Um, Done some commercials, TV shows, short films, all sorts of projects, and I've just kind of been in the entertainment industry for a really, really long time now.
Very, very nice. So, the question from the last guest is, what mountains are you carrying that you should have climbed instead?
Wow, that's a deep question. Um, what mountains am I carrying that I should have climbed instead? I think that we all hold on to like the weight of certain things. Like for me personally, I could just think of like 15 minutes ago, I was thinking about how, oh my gosh, I should have responded differently to like, the way an interaction I had a few weeks ago of like, oh man, I should have like said this instead. And like, just kind of getting in my head about like the little things. So, at the moment, it's very small, but, just kind of like reflecting back at how I would have responded differently to someone in a certain situation I was in a few weeks ago is like, a mountain, I guess. Maybe more of like, you know, a molehill as
Yeah.
opposed to a mountain, but that's like the first thing I could think of off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
yeah, for sure. I think for some people, for you, in your life, you've taken lots of chances where sometimes as somebody else, maybe they say like they wish they would have started they're like 50 and they wish they would have started their business 10 years earlier or whatever, things like that, right? So, you were also unlucky or lucky enough to get that one instead of like somebody asked a couple weeks ago, a guy that was running, he's basically created a bioreactor to eat plastic and it like pops out fertilizer. So, I mean, that's cool stuff. And he left the question for the next guest of what's your favorite dinosaur? So you were unlucky enough to get, or lucky enough to get the deep one, whichever, however you want to look at it. Um, Okay, so you mentioned you started when you were 8. Like, how does this occur, right? Because New Jersey, nobody, well, I mean, maybe not nobody, but most people don't think New Jersey, that's the hot spot for the entertainment industry. So, and at 8 as well. So, like, is this something that your parents are involved in? Had they been in the entertainment industry, or were you always just like wanting to do plays at school and talent shows and all the rest of it? Like, how did you even get started?
Yeah, more so the second option you provided is more along the lines of what I kind of fell into because my parents are not at all in the entertainment industry, no one in my family, no grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, like no one's in the entertainment industry in my family. And so it was just something that I saw like on TV, I'd see like, my favorite singers and pop stars, Hannah Montana at the time, when I was a little kid, and
Yeah, yeah.
I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I really looked up to them. And once I started kind of getting on to like, school play stages and like even, a mini stage that, you'd I'd be like in my living room saying, "Oh my gosh, aunts, uncles, everyone, like I'm gonna be singing this song today," and I'd like perform for like, 10 people in my family in my living room. And so it was just like moments like those where I knew, oh my goodness, I actually really enjoy this feeling of performing in front of other people and um even just like songwriting. I believe I wrote my first song when I was in like first grade and it was, just something fun, but I really enjoyed the process. Poetry was like one of my favorite topics in English class when I was in elementary school, so I always just loved rhyming and um that type of being in that type of space.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I This is kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but your mention of like Hannah Montana or other people that were on TV at that time, um, like a lot of those, like Miley Cyrus has come out and said, yeah, it wasn't great working as a child star in this. Drake and Josh, right, have they actually went on a podcast together, I think, and kind of hashed some of that out, and there were some tears and some not some things that were going on at Nickelodeon, which we don't have to kind of super delve into, but because I remember also watching at the time being like, oh, it would be great to live like Drake and Josh, right? And then you figure out later it's like, okay, well, actually, it wasn't so great, and they took all the royalties or whatever the situation was, allegedly, and I'm not here to get myself in trouble, but like from the standpoint of you being, they're a lot older than you are. When this stuff started to come out, I guess would have been like when you're late teens or so. Did this work? Like, is this something that you think about often and like how to protect yourself from these sorts of things and how to deal with it while also being like the entertainment industry, I think for I'll say like the normie, the person that's not in it does not have the best reputation at the moment. So how have you, I guess there's a lot in there, but just talk through, I guess, your experiences, but also like your awareness of these situations, things that you're doing to maybe prevent yourself from getting wrapped up in one of these things. Because like just looking through your bio, it's not like the names on here, it's like you did a Nike commercial with LeBron and Travis Scott and Devin, like these and Mary J. Blige, like these are big people as well. So like talk through that kind of and maybe did you see some of that before it went public? I guess there's a lot in there, but just talk through your thoughts and your experiences within the industry.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I definitely was very blessed and lucky in the sense that, um, my parents were really protective of me and they definitely supported my dream and supported the fact that I loved singing, acting, all of the things. But I just have a lot of open communication with my parents as well. Like I communicate with my mom like really, really frequently, probably more than the average mother-daughter dynamic like would entail. So I just have like I communicate a lot with my family, my brother, my parents, everyone. So people can kind of know what's going on with me at all times. I'm just very alert and cautious. And I know my boundaries and I know what I will and won't do for my dream. Even though it is a dream, it's like, sometimes slow and steady just wins the race, and it's better to go about it in that like slow, more natural way. Like, it might not be linear, but um along the way you will face moments of like, oh my gosh, look, this is so amazing. I booked this gig or I got this and then it just kind of builds and builds as opposed to like, bam, I'm getting that overnight success, but then on the inside I feel kind of guilty about, you know, certain things. And so yeah, I've been really lucky to have really protective parents. And I know the importance of communication and honesty and like, not sacrificing my morals. I know like a lot of them and who are put in those positions were like minors, and I'm not trying to say like, oh, they did anything wrong. You know what I mean? I think like we should never like victim shame or anything. Um, but again, I did have the privilege of like having really protective parents.
Mm. So that was where I was gonna basically wrap it back to the chronological piece of the story, which is like you start to let's see it. 10, you're doing at the Apollo Theater and ABC, like the ABC channel, and then music festivals and stuff. So even 10, like 11, 12 years old. So your parents from the beginning, like, are these lessons and the things that you being alert and cautious and all this stuff, is this like instilled in you from the beginning? And how did your parents feel about kind of not about you being entered into this kind of world at that age? Do you recall? Or like were you just like, "Oh, this is great and this is fun, and I'm 10 and I get to go to these places and sing, which is I like doing."
Definitely a bit of that.
Yeah,
Definitely,
yeah.
oh, this is so cool, this is so fun. I think that especially when I started getting like vocal training, like professional vocal training, like immediately there was kind of like this moment of like, boom, oh my goodness, we hear this voice and we hear this like talent within our daughter. She really loves this clearly, and it's not just like something where I'm like, oh, this is a phase. Like I'm just kind of into singing right now. Like I really, really was about it. And so it was like really cool, but at the same time, they were like, "Oh wow, our daughter can sing. Like we believe in her too." Like, so they just wanted to be there to support my dream. And my mom always says like, no matter what it is that my kids are passionate about, if they're passionate about like, sweeping the floor, like I'm gonna make sure that they are constantly looking up tutorials on how to properly sweep. Maybe there's a certain broom you should buy to sweep. Like no matter how small that passion might be, she just wants to be there to like make sure that she can support her kids in pursuing their dreams. And I'm again like super, super lucky in that sense. But she also said, you got to work hard. There's no like easy way to anything, because if you do get in the easy way, like, you know, there are other ways where you'll have to kind of pay up in a sense. So, yeah, I just thought at like 10 years old, I was like, oh, this is super cool. I'm just going in it knowing that I have to be practicing my vocals regularly, and I hope that people latch on, and I hope that people connect with my performances and my songs. So I was just going into it like without anything else in mind, to be honest.
Hmm. How did you end up um doing the acting stuff as well? Because sometimes people get caught in a swim lane, and other times people are doing a lot of different things. And so sometimes you might say, well, they should focus on one thing or not one thing. And you were doing music stuff, music festivals down in the Caribbean and all sorts of stuff like that. Um, Actually, let's do. Was that feeling before you started acting or after? Or feel the
Um,
beat? Either one.
yeah, so with acting, I got into acting when I was around like the same age, because I really
Okay.
started with like off-Broadway type stuff. So it
Okay.
incorporated the singing and the acting and the dancing, and if you could play any instruments, and so like everything in one, which is why I ended up kind of branching out into not just the music but also the acting and everything else. So it definitely helped in that regard. And yeah. So that's
Okay.
how it kind of led to that.
Yeah, yeah, that makes total sense. 'Cause sometimes people then they go from one and they stay like Broadway type shows, or they only do one or the other. But if you love all three, then of course you stay doing all of them. Um, okay, so first number one song in country, like various countries around the world. What's the feeling like with that? Like, at what point are you starting to feel like there's like the transition between, oh, I'm just doing this for fun, for funsies, and now it's like, no, this is a legit thing. People want to work with me. I get to work with Cassidy on this song, or I get to go to MTV and do these other things. Like, how were your parents like, did they help you stay grounded, but also talk through the transition for you as you were kind of going through, well, it's a lot of things, right? You're growing up as a individual, kind of going to school at the same time, but also you've got number one songs and you're doing music things. It's like there's a lot going on, right? At that point in somebody's life. most like I don't know if I handled high school particularly well, and I was not having any number one songs. So, but like, you know what I mean? So like talk through all those things and kind of your transition from at that point in your life.
Yeah, what's actually funny too is that I went to boarding school for high school. So
Mm,
I think like again, I was just communicating a lot with my parents. My mom and dad were always like in the conversation. They knew of my whereabouts. I wasn't like trying to be secretive, with them. Just a lot of open communication and trust. Um, Especially being away for high school.
yeah.
I grew to be extremely independent, maybe too independent, and so I just love like having my own space and my own zone and to just do what I need to do because I always know like if I can trust anyone, I can trust myself at the end of the day. So, I think that it was a really interesting experience, but it was kind of all I knew in a sense because I had been doing it since like third grade. So I'd always been doing the school and the music and so it's just like with each little progression, it's been such a slow upward trend for me. Like it wasn't just like I got all these things overnight, obviously. It was like, oh, boom, I got this one thing. And then like 6 months later, it's like, oh, I got this other big thing. And then 6 months later, I got this other big thing. And so it just all kind of accumulated into when you run down the list of, 10 years worth of stuff, it sounds like, whoa, this is like all so much stuff. But when you're like day in and day out, like getting rejections and then like that one pops off, it doesn't click to you as like, oh my gosh, I've done so many things. But again, if you're looking at it from like, oh wow, over the last decade you've done this, and this, it's like, oh yeah. Like I guess, you got to take some moments to reflect on all that's transpired. But yeah.
Yeah. So did you have a boarding school? Like did people know that you had like number one songs and you were doing all these things? Like did it or was like at this point are you just no, I'm at school and then I'm writing songs and then this is like somebody else might play sports and I'm just writing songs and it's like very normal.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't bring it up really. Like, unless someone brought it up themselves, then I'd be like, yeah, I sing, I do all this stuff,
Hmm.
acting, whatever, whatever. But I tried to just keep it strictly on school when I was in school. Like, okay, this project is due tomorrow, or, I tried to really focus. My goal in high school is like, okay, I want to make sure I can get into a good college and just continue with my education. And so I was really focused on school when I was there. And I mean, obviously, I continued with the music and everything, but I wanted to maintain that laser focus. But it was again like challenging. There are moments where things are a lot more booming in the music realm of things and you have like so many assignments and you got to study for the SATs and you got like so it's a lot, but I just kind of reflect on moments where uh I want to say it was like my junior year. I booked a commercial in Miami and I had to, I finished school and then I like went to the airport and flew out to Miami for the commercial and then did it in like it was like a day or two, the shoot, I can't remember. And then that night I just like flew back to Connecticut and I arrived like early morning and I had like a test that morning. And so I was just like studying and doing my homework in the car and like on the plane. And then like I got there at like 8 a.m. like ready for my test and I aced the test. I was like so happy about that because I was like, oh my gosh, like I really pulled that off. I was just relieved, but it was definitely a grind. That's just like one moment in time that I can like give as provide as an example.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Talk through the grind piece and then also the grind piece. Right idea, wrong choice of words, Eric. And the rejections that you mentioned before. So like I think at least it's not well, for me anyways, entertainment like I think people I don't understand like the work that goes into it, right? As an athlete, I understand the amount of work that goes in that's unseen. But from an entertainment perspective, like like when you say that you're grinding, you get all the rejections. The rejections, like that part makes sense. But like, what does that entail to you? Like, you hear like Benny Blanco go on some podcast, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I made five number one songs, like half hungover with my eyes closed when I was with Ed Sheeran," and you're like, "That doesn't sound very hard. Just sounds like you're very good at this." It's like, but like, talk to that. Like, what are you working at? What sorts of things are you refining? Um, the rejections, how you're dealing with that, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, rejection is 90% of it for sure because, it's kind of like throwing darts at the wall until one of them hits the bullseye. It's like you have to just keep trying and keep like embarrassing yourself in a sense behind the scenes. Like sometimes you just have to follow up with people and follow up and follow up and follow up and follow up. And they're like, oh, yeah, sure, yeah, sure, I'll help you out. Or yeah, sure, I'll, do this or that or whatever. And after like 15 times, you're like, okay, maybe I'll back off because clearly, like, but it's a lot of that and a lot of just knowing going into it that like, okay, I've done like 100 auditions, haven't booked one, um, but if I do 100 more, there's like, that 1% chance that I'll book one, maybe, because it's so competitive and everyone's trying to do it and um it's a lot, but you also just kind of remember that it's a job and so it's no different than like how competitive the job market is today. So like booking an acting role or getting any kind of gig at all. It's just highly competitive and you just got to keep trying and trying and trying and trying and then one of them it'll click and one of them you'll be the right fit for that specific role and what they're looking for or what have you.
hmm So for the work piece, like, what are you working at? So like, you're refining your vocals. But like, what does that entail? Or like, how do you get better at acting without doing like what sorts of things are you like you hear people go, "Oh yeah, I went took acting classes." It's like, okay, well, what does that mean? You just like read the same line and practice your surprised face over and over. Like, what does that actually entail for the layman who has no clue and just like knows that acting classes exist? Like, and I mean, dancing, I guess dancing is, to me at least, more kind of intuitive on how you get better at doing things like that because it's more like athletic related. But for acting and singing, like what sorts of things are you doing to improve? Like how does that work?
Um, so to be honest, I think that you're kind of right in a sense it does like cap out after a certain point. You're like, okay, this like there's not much to that you would think that I can like improve upon here. But I know that for acting at least, there's always like different approaches that you can take. Like, say you think, oh, this is like the best way I can act this out, but someone has a completely different idea of how they would approach that scene and be like, oh, actually do it more from this standpoint, or like, act as if you know, were in this profession and this at you were this age from this state or wherever, and you never even would have thought like, oh yeah, like maybe I could approach the role in that way, or maybe I could approach delivering these lines in that way. So there's always like somebody who has a completely different idea of what that could be. And then for singing, dancing, I think it's good to just stay, continue to do things that seem redundant or seem tedious because, to maintain your instrument is really important. But, um, I mean, to a certain degree, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I've been practicing, like how much better can I get? I mean, you can at least maintain if you feel like you're at your peak. But I do always believe that there is a little bit more you can continue to push and
Mm.
like, figure out. Um, just yeah, there's so many videos online too and discussions you can have with people about, oh, I feel like, maybe there's this one realm of singing that I'm not super great at. You can look into different genres of music. You can kind of tap into like, oh, well, maybe, I need to work on this register of my voice and like, you listen to some opera music or, j just to kind of open up your mind a bit and see what else is out there. Just never stay too like comfortable in where you are.
Mm. How do you challenge yourself with that in terms of like I guess to your point, acting can be very subjective, right? You can deliver it in the way that you think is best, but if the person that's casting it is like, nah, actually I wanted it to be like this, then kind of you're hosed. But like for um I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, in terms of like branching out and trying things like with songwriting or different things, how do you challenge yourself to expand your like repertoire of roles? Do you go maybe audition for something that you're like, "Hmm, yeah, I don't know, maybe, but it would be good to like try it, even though I'll probably hear no, or like with music, um, you've got like a pretty heavy like Caribbean feel to a lot of your stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna try something else, or maybe write in a different sort of style. Do you consciously do that, or in terms of, hey, I really need to expand my skill set in this, and so I'm gonna make sure I do three auditions for commercials that I wouldn't normally do, and I'm gonna try and write one song in a slightly different. Do you do that, or you kind of like, how does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I never try to like self-eliminate or just like assume like, oh yeah, I'm definitely not gonna get this. I'll go into it with an open mind regardless. So, the only thing that I would be like, okay, this is a no, is something that again goes against my moral compass or is like, oh yeah, no, I kind of look at it in terms of like, if I were to book this,
Hmm.
how comfortable would I feel about that and like my image and everything? Just knowing that, you know, a temporary moment of like, oh yeah, this is like me stepping out and doing something I wouldn't typically do, but how would I reflect on that 5, 10 years later, 15 years later? Would I still feel the same way? And so far I feel pretty good about everything that I've done, I'd say. Um, and I mean, yeah, I'm always willing to like step outside of my comfort zone as long as again it's within something that I believe is not going against my moral compass. But yeah, so I'll audition for things that like, oh, maybe this doesn't really fit my personality. Like, I'm someone who likes to be indoors, but this person seems to be more of an outdoorsy person. I think it's good to like explore those um, different characters. And that's really what I think acting is being able to say, hey, like this isn't who I am, but for this role, I'm going to become that because you have to change up who you are because it's not even who you are when you're acting. All that stuff. But yeah, and then as far as music, I listen to a lot of different genres of music. I try to um, listen to music from different countries and in different languages and just to stay alert and awake as far as what's happening musically across the globe and see what might resonate with me.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's a good answer. Okay, so you're like, we're getting into like 2020 time frame. So around this time, obviously COVID happens, but also you're at the point where a lot of parents um are, all right, go to college. Yeah, this was fun, but can you turn this into a real career? Um, or go to college, get a job, etc., do something more stable. Um, where are you at this point in terms of like, is this a big debate in your head? Is this a chance? Are you like, this is a risk that I'm taking, or are you just going full steam ahead? You're like, this is what I'm going to be doing. And then how did COVID affect that as well, that decision as well? Because people couldn't go anywhere, studios were shut down, you couldn't go inside, everyone was wearing masks, people were doing outside stuff on the internet was kind of going like it was going more, right? Zoom, obviously we're using Zoom right now. But like there was a big shift in the entertainment industry as there were in lots of industries. But these two things kind of happened around the same time for you. Just doing quick math, it could have happened a different time for you with the other piece. But like, how does that kind of part go for you? Are you just going full steam ahead and that's what it is, or is there a discussion that's had between like even with just yourself, like you and yourself? You're like, all right, is this a good idea now, or are we gonna like how did that work for you?
Yeah, so for me, like I always knew that it would continue to be like I go after my academic goals and I go after my music and acting goals regardless of anything. So I knew that I wanted to go to college, like for sure. That was never a question in my mind of I have to choose acting, singing, or college. I was going to do both, and I had already made up my mind about that from since I was a little kid. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go into undergrad, I'm gonna complete it, and I'm still gonna be doing stuff on the side, even though it'll be a lot of work, but I was again used to that from a young age. So, I continued with that, and then even um, after undergrad, I knew I wanted to still kind of continue with education a bit, so I went to grad school. Again, still kept up with the music and everything. Um, and it never was a conversation of like you have to pick this or that. Um, and I'm really glad that I, was able to do both and everything. As far as COVID, I think that was like a challenge and a struggle for everyone, just adapting to this new world of like, especially in the beginning, people weren't even going outside. Everyone was wearing masks, everyone was scared to be within 6 feet of one another, which, of course, because, if you if you caught COVID, there was obviously like really bad health risks associated with catching that, and some people died, and it was very, very serious. Um, but again, like the world was changing in a very drastic way. So, I just was kind of going with the flow. Like I was like, okay, however everyone else in the industry is adapting to it, I'll just kind of, stay alert of that. And I'd still be able to go to the studio. I'd still be able to book studio sessions, go with my mask on, and then just take it off once, the door was closed and I was in the booth. But yeah, I mean, I didn't let it stop me. There was still ways to do like Zoom interviews and um continue to audition via Zoom, and so we kind of worked our way around that as a society. But um no matter what it was that was going on in the world, I just knew that, okay, I have a goal. My goal is to finish my education and to continue with the singing and acting, regardless of what's taking place. As long as I'm safe, and everyone else is safe, then I'm gonna make that a reality.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a crazy schedule. Undergrad and grad school and doing all the rest of it. That's bananas. So props to you for that. How was the first the first Zoom audition? That must have been weird.
Yeah, it was okay. Like again, I was like when COVID hit, I was finishing up my senior year of high school.
Hmm.
So, that was like very weird because we were not expecting like we were on spring break and then we had gotten an email saying like, "Oh, you're not
Don't
coming
come
back."
back. It's like-
I was like, "Oh, okay." So that was like really, really interesting. I think that was more so shocking than even like Zoom auditions because of how quickly it all happened, and we were expecting to like go back and have our senior spring and whatnot, but that didn't happen. Um, so yeah, the first Zoom audition, it was pretty cool because sometimes, even if I'm on a different coast, I had to do it anyways. Like if I was in New York, there was an audition in LA that I couldn't make, I'd just do it via Zoom or Skype or whatever, video chat we used at that point in time. But yeah, so nothing too crazy.
How's it been? Have you taken um any time to reflect on how things in the entertainment industry have changed the last like decade or so, right? We went from everyone watching cable and Disney Channel and all these things. Now it's all streaming services and music on YouTube instead of iTunes and I don't know. Do you know what LimeWire is? Am I
I
dating
do
myself?
not.
Oh no. I'm dating myself. LimeWire was a thing where like you would download the music for free instead of paying for it on iTunes. It was like a very popular thing when the iPods first came out. Um, and the music people were not very happy with it, but whatever. Oh, I feel old. Okay, anyways, but have you taken any time to kind of reflect on those changes, or have you just been riding the wave a little bit? And if you have taken the time to reflect, how have you adapted along with it?
Mm, I feel like I haven't really taken the time to reflect because I feel like it happens so gradually and um, in small increments. It's like, we have the iPhone 3 and then now we're at like what iPhone 16 or something now.
Hmm.
And so it's just kind of like, oh yeah, every year it's like, okay, iPhone 4, iPhone 5, iPhone 6. And you don't pay attention to how different the iPhone 3 was, what, 15 years ago compared to the latest iPhone. There are so many changes that have been made, but because it's happened so slowly over a course of time, we haven't really paid attention to the minute details and that have flipped. So, um, yeah, I don't think I've really had time to soak in all of the changes that have happened over the last 10 plus years. But I think I've just kind of been riding the wave, like you mentioned, and taking it day by day. But yeah, I think I probably should reflect on it a little bit more and see like what have all the changes been in the last years, in the last few years. Um,
Yeah, I mentioned that in particular just because I feel like for you, acting kind of you still go on set and you still shoot the scene or whatever, but for music in particular, like there's a lot of independent artists, like the music label kind of gatekeeping seems to have gone away to a certain extent. Like a guy I went to high school with, Ryan Oakes, he's out in LA and he's like was touring Europe now, and I don't think he's signed. All his stuff was on YouTube, and he just like got big because his stuff was good, and nobody. So I feel like that's a big change. So are you like you're releasing stuff on YouTube and Instagram Reels and social media and things like that, but like when you're working with kind of producers or like the traditional, okay, we're gonna record our 10 songs and the album's gonna come out like isn't really a thing anymore to some extent. So like how are you Are you planning your releases? Are you just writing songs when they come to you and you're like, okay, this is good. We worked on it for a bit. Yeah, we'll throw it out to the internet, see what happens. Like, where are you at in your kind of like, how does that work for you in particular? Because I had these acapella guys that have gotten pretty big on YouTube as well, and they do like one project where there's four of them, so each of them like arranges one song and then they put the project out. And so like they've got their plan, and other people who have been individuals are just kind of like, yeah, well, I have the time to work on this other thing that I want to work on because I'm doing all these other things, and then I put it out. Like, where are you at with that, with the music in particular?
yeah, so I'm definitely very intentional about my releases. I definitely plan them out. I'm not someone who, kind of like you mentioned, is just like, okay, I've been sitting with this for a while, let me just put it out. Like, I really sit through and think about, okay, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it. I'm a Libra. I don't know if that, maybe has something
That
to do
means
with
nothing to me.
it. So I want it to be like exactly the way that I want it to be when it comes to putting out a song, and how it sounds and everything. There have been certain moments where I had an idea of like, okay, I want to do this and it has to get done and it has to get done at this time. And I just was kind of like, okay, I'm going to put this out, because I need to put this out. Um, as far as like not having a ton of time to plan, being like, okay, a few months in advance, I was like, okay, I have to, this is the deadline for this and this, and so it has to just get done and kind of rushing in a sense. But um, yeah, I like to plan things out. I like for, again, things to just sound the way that I want them to sound. I was really happy about my latest release, that dropped a few weeks ago, Realist Wine, because it felt very complete to me. It felt like exactly what I wanted it to be. And I was really, really satisfied with that. And for me personally, it just symbolized growth because there have been previous releases where certain parts of the process, I was like, oh, I was feeling real, my confidence was super, super high about a song, and then it kind of like diminished slowly as I got closer to releasing it and like having that time to really sit with it and not feeling as passionate about it, but still being like, I mean, it's, it's still good, but I wasn't all like, yay, this is it, this is it. But I felt consistently like this is it about my latest song. And I'm just really proud of, you know, the project in and of itself.
Yeah. Have you had any that have surprised you that maybe you're like, "Ah, I don't know about this one, but it did really well." Or ones that you're like, "Oh, this is a banger," and then it's doesn't do so well, or like both, or either or.
Yeah, I mean, Feel the Beat was definitely I did like that song. That was a song that again it gained a lot of success overseas, going number one on the Tempo Caribbean charts, which was really amazing. Um, but I've just been someone who always loves the fast tempo songs that are, you can dance to and whatnot. So I like that song and it did seem to resonate with a lot of people. I feel like with Realist Wine, it's still a bit early to fully tell, but the people who, have been in the audience that, you know, pull me aside afterwards and they're like, "Oh my God, I love this song." I'm like, "Okay, good." Like I feel good to, know that other people are feeling the song, especially in person like that, as opposed to, a comment on social media, which I appreciate both, but it's really more that like face to face of like, "No, this is a good song." I'm like, "Yes, cool." Um, but yeah, I think Elevate, I like that song, but I didn't fully know that it would take off, especially when this dance group called Ghetto Kids Uganda posted a reel to it on Instagram and TikTok and on their social media using the song, uh, just to see it get so many views and people in the comments being like, "Oh, the song, like, what's the song?" And this is a really good song. What's the name of it? And I was like, "Oh, that's really cool that they not only like watched the video, but they saw them dancing and they were focused on the song that they were dancing to." Like, to me, it was a good indicator that it stood out to them enough to be like, "Oh, wait a minute, what's this song?" Like, so yeah, that was kind of like an unexpected, good moment, that I can think of.
Yeah. What's it like working with people, some of the artists that are on the list or that you filmed stuff with? Well, I guess that's yeah, Mary J. Blige, Rick Ross, uh, Cassidy, or even like shooting commercials with LeBron James and Devin Booker. What is it like to work with or be around people of that sort of stature? Um, like, do you know going in, and you're like, oh my gosh, I get to work with so and so. Like, how does that work? And like, what has have your experiences been working with those types of people who are just like at the absolute top of whatever their industry is?
Yeah, so I think like especially when I was really young, I was like so excited and being like, "Oh my gosh, like, this person, that person, and how exciting is it?" But I think like as I got older and, just gained more life experience and experience in the industry, it's obviously still really cool and an honor to be working with people who are so respected globally. But I think it's definitely clicked for me going into it. I'm like, okay, this is like still a human being. Like it's still a normal person. They're not God. They're not, Jesus Christ. Like, and so, they wake up, they brush their teeth, they go to bed, like still a normal person. So, I think that's something that hopefully, can resonate with others as well, not really pedestalizing anyone just because they sing and act and they're in this industry. I know that we've kind of been led in this direction as a society, as a society to do that, of being like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, like because other people react that way to them, we think, oh, that's the way that I should react. Like when I see someone famous, I should be like, oh my gosh, and pull out my phone and record them and have that reaction. But again, they just chose this profession. Like they're no different than someone who, you know, went to school and became a dentist and is well respected by other people within the dental industry. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is hype. Again, not to like take away from any of the accomplishments, but for me personally, like I view myself as a normal person. Like I can just walk across the street and have a normal conversation with someone because I don't expect for people to bow down to me just because I chose to do singing and acting. Like it's just a passion that I have and I love doing it. So I still view myself as a regular person. But at the same time, I think, you obviously have to know that people still do view you that way regardless. And so you have to, from a safety standpoint, just, you know, look out for your own safety because there are people who might jeopardize your safety or put your safety in jeopardy. So, it's a lot to kind of think of, but as far as just answering your question of working with people, who are like A-list and whatnot. I just view them as normal people, but I still respect what they've accomplished. And, you know, I'm like, wow, like that's really great that you've done all that you've done. And, just have a lot of respect for them because of their
Yeah.
actions. Yeah.
Some of these people have like just a presence. When you walk in the room, you're like, oh, that person is here. Was it like that with some of them? Like even you can still there's still people, of course, but like there's something different. Like you can tell like and even in situations when like I was reminded by I think it was the NBA top 75 list or whatever when Michael Jordan walked in. He walked into a room filled with like the best players ever. And even then it was like, okay, that's Michael Jordan. It was like, you know what I mean? So did you get that sort of vibe from any of them where you're just like, "Ooh, that's a A-lister for sure," or not so much? Or were you
Um,
kind of just like, "We're in business and we're working now."
I feel like I'm really in business mode for sure. But I will say that everyone whom I've had the pleasure of working with has definitely carried like, a certain aura to them, and with them. Yeah, I mean, I think it almost comes with it, like carrying that aura, because they've been following down this path for, probably a significant amount of years. And so it just over time they've built up this like presence that comes with it.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely an honor to work with like MC Light and Jadakiss and especially on music, uh, Cassidy. Just everyone who I've worked with has definitely had this like presence about them, that I think shown had was able to shine through.
Nice, nice, nice. So with the festival in November of last year, so obviously you do live performances. How do you feel when you're debuting a song live? Is that nervy a little bit, or are you more excited, or somewhere in between, or something else?
I think I'm usually excited about it, as opposed to nervous because I just go into it having confidence in what I'm about to present. So I don't expect people to be like gagaing over like, oh my gosh, it's so good. But I don't expect people to kind of be like, man, this really sucks because I like, you know what I mean? Because I'm trying to put on a good show. I'm trying to engage with the audience, even if it's not their cup of tea musically or like sonically. I still try to like, you know, say they're like, oh, I strictly listen to country or rock or rap, and I'm, presenting a pop song to them. I'm still like, okay, like I get that this might not be everyone's jam exactly, but I will still try to make this a show and I will still, you know, um, point to people in the audience and lock eyes with people in the audience and make them feel like they're a part of what I'm doing. Um, so, and sometimes you have tough crowds, but um I just, again, like I'm in my zone and my job is to just put on the best show possible for anyone in the audience. And so I just keep it focused on that.
Hmm. So what's next for you? So you've got Realist Wine that came out a couple weeks ago. Link for that will be in the description, people listening. Um, but so what's next for you? If you could, well, I guess immediate term, but more long term, if like you could wave a magic wand and 3 to 5 years from now you've done blank, what would that look like for you?
Well, yeah, I just, again, like you mentioned, just dropped Realist Wine. I actually also just dropped the music video a little over a week ago. So that was really exciting. Shot it in St. Kitts and Nevis. You know, MC Lights in it. It's just lots of really, really fun vibes, jet ski action, everything. So really cool. But as far as what's next for me, um, I graduated from Columbia with my master's degree in journalism just 2 months ago. So I'm, you know, kind of venturing a bit into the journalism space, job wise. I've gotten some really amazing job offers, and I'm definitely considering, you know, having that be like my profession, and of course, still continuing with music and acting, regardless of whatever space I'm in, and even having a full-time job. If I decide like, okay, I'm gonna have a full-time job in journalism, I will still make the time for recording new songs and writing new songs and acting and everything. But if I could wave a magic wand, I definitely would love to just, again, like I feel like I'd want to continue down this road, like wherever it may lead me. I don't think there's like a specific thing that I really want, at least not that I can think of at this very moment in time. I just would like to have um more people know about the music that I'm putting out. A large audience and platform who can like sit with my music and digest it and give their feedback, and because I think music in a way can be meant to start conversations and open up doors for communication across different parts of the country and different parts of the world. And so I want to definitely experiment a bit more with my sound, continue putting out songs, put out, maybe a full project like an album, EP, something that's like a full body of work. And then as far as acting, it'd be great to book like a really fun, maybe like I mean, I'm open to TV shows, movies, anything that kind of clicks for me. But you know, I'm just open to see what will happen pretty much. I'm not putting too much pressure on goals and like because I think so many things can happen. And when you're like, okay, I want this specific thing to um I want this specific thing to happen for me, you don't even consider like the other possibilities in a way. So I'm open to it all. Mm, I think your sound cut out for me.
Myself. How about now?
Yes, I can hear you.
What kind of journalism? If you had to pick one, or like, would you want to pursue?
So I studied broadcast journalism. So like anchoring, out in the field reporting. As far as like a beat, I am not closed off or like, saying I won't report on any specific beat, but I did enjoy stories about education, stories about, politics was, something that was interesting to study for a bit. I studied it for the first few months of the program. And, I like stories about social justice, injustices that are taking place across America and the world. Those really um, just intrigue me a lot. And I feel like it's really important, at least for me as a journalist to kind of shine a light on, oh my goodness, look at this story that's being overlooked. Like, look at how this person is currently in a very unfair position or an unfair situation. We need to have a conversation about it as a society and see if we can seek out justice for this person, and then just like following up with that individual, their family, anyone who can kind of provide more information on what's going on. So that interests me, and stories about religion. Yeah, I even am open to stories about sports. I actually did an internship um, at CBS Sports as well. Um, and that was really a really eye-opening experience as well. So I'm open to all beats, but I am within the broadcast journalism space.
Gotcha. Is there anything? Hmm. How was the internship at CBS Sports? Talk to me about that. What sorts of things were you doing? What'd you like? What you didn't like? Unless it's gonna get you in trouble, then you don't have to say it. But how was it?
Oh, it was really, really great. It was a great experience. Got to meet a lot of people. You know, I'm just someone who is trying to constantly stay busy. So I was like doing the internship while obviously being in grad school and doing the singing and acting. And so you know, it was experience, but also maybe my excuse for being like, I just need to be so busy at all times. So let me take on this additional responsibility because I can, because I have free will.
Yeah. Fair enough. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should or that you want to talk about?
Um, Nothing that I can really think of. I feel like you covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, I try to, generally speaking. Um, any last nickels before we get you out of here?
I would just say be sure to check out my song Realist Wine featuring MC Light out now on all platforms. The music video is on my YouTube channel, Briannagh D. Um, yeah, and just expect, you know, more to come on socials. I'm always posting about what's next on my Instagram. Not everything I post about, but you know, I post about certain things. So you can definitely stay in the loop via Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all the social media platforms are just Brianna D. So yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Short, sweet, to the point. Love it. For those listening, of course, links in the description, as always. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace. Thanks for tuning in to the World XP podcast. If you want to watch another episode like this one, click there. If you want to subscribe, click there.